Hello and welcome back to Nadya's Identity Files. I'm realizing I'm kind of hyper today because I had a lot of coffee. We were just talking about our crazy, erratic entrepreneurial sleep schedules and how we are trying to adjust and be more normal human beings. Are you a coffee drinker?
I'm a huge coffee drinker. Yeah, I'm on a coffee restriction. I can have 1 cup a day.
Oh gosh, I've tried that. I've tried that so many times, and I've just accepted it's always going to be about 2 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
And then I'll attempt to cap it off there. But I'm sorry, you guys. I'm not smoking crack. I don't have a heroin needle in my arm. Coffee
Don't give
is
people
my
any
only
ideas.
vice. I'm not endorsing any of those. I'm just saying. So today we're going to be talking about beauty and identity. I'm so happy to have you here today. And you are a self-declared modelpreneur. I love that term. It's so cool. And your beauty work began quite some time ago, 12, 13 years ago, in pageants. Can you talk a bit about your journey?
Sure. So actually, I started in straightforward modeling. So I started about 12 years old. Doing teeny bopper catalog stuff and in New York City.
What are some of the ones that you were in?
Oh god, J.C. Penney, the mailers that you got in the mail.
Yes.
Yeah. So people don't think of that as actual modeling,
right?
But it all falls into the category. It's a very big industry, and people only think about it in terms of Victoria's Secrets and Sports Illustrated, but a lot of different sectors use models for different things. So
yeah, totally.
I did a lot of catalog and print and kitty, happy child and teen modeling, and I just kind of grew up in that business.
Right.
And I got into pageants rather late. I was in my mid-20s, 24, 25, and that's when it began. That's when the pageantry stuff began. And
what is the age cap traditionally for pageants, or does it vary?
It varies.
I don't know.
Yeah, it varies per system. So in that time, I think Miss Universe was 25 or 24, something like that. Other intercore pageants were 25, 26. Now I think Miss Universe is 26, 27, 28, somewhere. I know they've been playing around with the age cap.
Yeah.
They've been playing around with a lot of different things, but the age cap has increased as time has gone on.
Were pageants always something that you wanted to do, and then at that point you're I'm getting older, which obviously 24 is still very young, but in pageant years it's on the older side, where you're I want to do this. What happened?
No. So, can I curse in this show?
Girl,
Okay.
I just talked about a crack pipe and peni.
So, hell no. Before I decided to do pageants, I did not in that time, I guess the modeling world and the pageant world were not crossing over at all. So if you were doing modeling or doing anything that was on that path, acting, you definitely did not cross that over with your modeling career. With your pageant work or whatever. So no, before I got the opportunity, I did not think about it, and I was not something I wanted to do. I had my own preconceived notions about pageantry, and everyone else, stereotype. You had because I grew up in that generation of Vanna White and Vanessa Williams, and so it had a really negative connotation to me. So it was because a woman that is very well known in the pageant world approached me and asked me would I be interested in competing, and something within that 6 months of us talking just clicked, and I was actually, yes, I will do this. And the reason why is because I realized that there's a money-making machine there. Beauty queens make money actually competing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of opportunity to build your platform, whatever it is you want to do, and relationships. A lot of it is relationship building. So on the business front, on the political front, and on the philanthropic front. So I was oh, there's a lot I can do here.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were very strategic about it. There's definitely, I feel traditionally, and this is probably a generalization based off things I've seen in the media and other women that I've known to compete in pageants, and it was more about I gotta win the pageant, and I want to be this pageant queen. Rather, you were thinking very strategically, always the entrepreneur.
Always, yeah.
Like,
God.
how am I going to create this and this and this, and it's going to be kind of a launch pad for you.
So a lot of beauty queens that are, especially if you're in the high level of competing, so it's not like your corner street pageant, like like the
corner street pageant.
So it's not like your neighborhood pageant.
Is there like a neighborhood?
I don't know. Like so like Miss Los Angeles, right? Like
go back to Hagerstown,
Miss Hollywood. Yeah, I mean like the small town pageants. There's not. The cap on the marketing is limited, right? There's a lot of pageants that don't lead to something. So, I don't want to throw any pageant system under the bus, 'cause I know a lot of them, but there's a lot of them that don't have a plan or that don't have much leverage in the industry. So the further down you go, there's less of an opportunity for you to build anything from it. But if you are in a certain group of pageants like Miss Universe, Miss World, Miss International, Miss Earth, Miss Asia Pacific, and there's some other ones underneath that, then the reach is very broad, and most of those girls are career beauty queens. So meaning that, especially like if you're from the Latin American countries, if you are from the Asian countries, then you are groomed to do this, and there is a marketing play behind it.
Right.
And even if it's just for personal gain, like for example, to better position yourself for marriage, which in a lot of cultures that is the reality.
Did you meet women like who kind of you've got the impression that that's why they were doing it, or
there is no impression? It's just exactly what it is. I mean,
I want to hear about that.
So,
because I mean, again, like you obviously were very strategic, very business savvy, really interested in trying to make a difference. And I think probably because I've known some other pageant girls who were really concerned about the philanthropic side, and that's why they got into it. But I mean, what was the kind of like the response and the interaction with other women, and just keeping in the context of beauty and identity?
So surprisingly, and I think this will probably make like ABC News or something. Maybe not.
Let's bump it up.
That there's like all this like infighting in pageants, and there's really not. Like that's the most boringest thing you can ever hear about pageants. I am friends with like every girl that I've ever competed with in every system. Like we've got Facebook groups.
That's great.
That we share and keep in touch with each other and everything. We like heart each other's posts on Facebook or whatever. Because we're all over the world. But I mean, a lot of my friends that from the pageant world, they got married. They married well, and there's no shame in that. That's what they wanted to do. That's what they did. There's no judgment.
Right.
It just is. It's also understanding the cultural context of it too. So, and a lot of them have their small businesses or their big businesses wherever they are, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some women have the whole package. We call it the whole package: the career, the husband, the children, the 3.5 kids, and traveling all over the world. I have friends that have that life, and that's what they wanted. That's great. So there's really no judgment.
Right. Yeah. So so you would say there's not that much pressure then necessarily for women who compete in pageants to come out of it with that whole package.
I think so first of all, the personality of a lot of beauty queens is that we're overachievers, and we're very competitive. So if you apply it to a guy that wants to make it to Major League Baseball, because the way that I look at pageants is very similar to like minor league baseballs, because you can trade systems, or you can go to Asia and play baseball.
That's very true.
And make a shitload of money, right? So in pageants, you don't have to compete at Miss Universe and Miss World to make a career. Like I didn't compete at Miss Universe or Miss World. I competed in like the top pageants underneath those, and I did pretty well for myself, and so did a lot of the other girls that I competed with. And so, it just really depends on what you want and how you plan on getting it through that.
Right. Very cool. I want to talk about the aesthetic labor. You mentioned aesthetic labor. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that is like my thing.
That sounds so interesting.
So, as like society moves forward, we are all contributing to aesthetic labor. So I don't have I wasn't prepared with any like statistical stats for this interview, but even in corporate America, you are judged by how you look in order to get a job, to get a promotion, whatever, and that is aesthetic labor, right? You have to put in work aesthetically in order to move up in anything that you do. So maybe pageants and modeling and like influencer stuff, we talked about beauty influencers, that's a whole nother level, but we all play a part in it, right? We all judge based on someone's aesthetic, and we all have to put in that labor to make ourselves more. But
do we have to, or is society making us, making people feel compelled to do that?
At this point, I don't believe that it really matters. It is just that we are here. This is where we are in society, and I don't think it matters whether we have to or not. The majority, because majority rules, and the majority has already agreed into this system, right? And so it's just like money, right? I mean, just take like dollars and cents. Dollars are made out of cotton, not trees. In case you guys didn't know that. So we have all agreed.
Fact of the day.
A lot of people still don't know that. So, we are all buying into this belief that cotton that we dye green has this significant value. Until we all stop believing in that system, it will continue to be, right? And
absolutely.
So the same thing with the standards of beauty. Standards of beauty is a social construct, is a social concept, and that the majority of people believe in.
I really love that you say that, because so many people, myself included, complain about, kind of just going off a little bit on a sidebar, the status of our country and the way things are moving. And the thing is, it's like, unless we all act and start, petitioning for structural change, things are going to keep going and repeating as they have been.
Yeah.
And that goes for any type of structure, I believe.
Yeah. And, we all have a different way that we think that it should be. And some of us are right, and some of us are definitely not right. Yeah. I think the most important thing is that with you in your life where you are today, you just make sure you're checking your own boxes, right? Like, I just check my own boxes. Am I okay with this? Am I okay with that? Am I not?
Right. Making your own rules.
Making your own rules. It's hard because you're going against the grain. You're going against the man-made order of things.
Totally.
But that is. If you really strongly believe, like I strongly believe in how I want to live my life.
Right.
And so I understand that I'm going against the natural or the man-made order of things. And some days it's easy, some days it's not. Some days there's a lot of pushback, some days, there's not.
And just like anything else, these things are not binary, they are not black and white.
Yeah.
There's always going to be that gray that you have to move through, or wade through, rather. And I think that part of the issue, though, that I have anyway with the beauty influencer, not with the beauty influencers themselves, because, more power to them to, make their videos and have a lot of viewers, and I think that's actually really cool. And I've used to have more interest in makeup in that world than I do today. But my concern is that young girls who feel like they're not meeting the standards or the look of these influencers are going to become very insecure and caught up in trying to be like Kylie Jenner or whatever. So you made a really cool video kind of just like helping girls realize their own worth, which I found super empowering, and I just want to show that really quickly.
If I could tell teens around the world one thing that I considered important related to beauty and health, I think it would be about having an overall positive self-image. I think that we will naturally use products. We naturally want to be better. I think it's human nature to want to improve upon what we are born with. I think that it also gets to be excessive, especially when we have a lot of external influences in media, such as magazines and reality shows and music videos and red carpets and all of those things. So I don't think it relates to a specific product or a specific exercise. I think that or even like a specific food group to eat or not eat. I think it all comes down to how that mirror that we see every day of ourselves, that reflection of ourselves. And I think working on that on a daily basis is the most important thing. And I really do mean working on it on a daily basis, because there are many examples in the world of profound speakers and leaders that have referred to this. Confidence is something that needs to be refreshed daily with Zig Ziglar. The Mira Project was somebody else. There's a lot of important references to the way that we view ourselves is the most important thing. That image that you have of yourself is the most important thing. That reflection that you see in the mirror every day is the most important thing. It's not what everybody else thinks about you. It's about what you think of yourself. And if you every day practice that and you exude that in your everyday life, then people will think whatever you want them to think about you. So that's the advice that I would give every teen in the world about health, beauty, life, and everything else.
Very inspiring.
Thank
and
you.
Super true. I wish I had seen that when I was younger, because when I was younger, I had a lot of struggles around body image and beauty and identity. And I was overweight, and I lost like a whole bunch of weight, became anorexic for a brief time. And I think I became obsessed with the idea of being like certain models. And, there were some sexuality things wrapped up into that too, which is a story for another day. But,
We'll have to come back for that
We'll have to come back for that episode. But, like, I wish I had had more positive role models like yourself to look up
thank
to
you.
at that time. So how has that type of messaging, like that you're out there trying to spread this empowering message and thinking back on your own work as a beauty influencer, how has this all contributed to your own identity?
So this is...
That was a long-ass question.
Yeah, long-ass question. So, okay. So here's the other side of beauty influencers that I think has actually had more momentum than the negative side of it, is that now you have girls that have a vehicle where they can talk about their imperfections and what they're doing to help improve themselves. So you have one of the biggest things on YouTube is how to cover up acne scars, for example, how to fix hyperpigmentation with Black women, for example, or with anyone that has melanin or color in their skin. Two areas that are extremely debilitating for women. And you have beauty influencers with, terrible acne or acne scars, and they're showing other girls how to make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
And not necessarily how to hide it,
right,
but just how to improve yourself enough so that you feel confident enough to face the day. And along with that, there's a lot of beauty influencers that are sending, not only are they doing the tutorials, but while they're doing the tutorials, they're sending a positive message, about how they feel about themselves. They're talking about their struggle. They're talking about how they overcame it. And also you have a wider representation of women in media. So with influencers, you have Black, you have white, you have plus size, you have everything in between. You have Muslim women, you have women of every color, shape, doing things that were at one time not available for them to do. And I think that alone is very empowering, bringing down those gatekeepers and allowing girls to say, hey, I'm here and I can do this too, is a huge thing. So I think that has more of a positive, there's more positive momentum on that than there is the negative stuff. Yeah. I think Kylie Jenner, you have to look at like Kylie Jenner and the Kardashians and in two ways. And I will leave Kim. I think Kim, I have a whole lot to say about Kim, and it's not bad at all, but I think like the Kylie Jenner and Bella Hadid and Gigi Hadid, you have to look at that as a system, right? Their mom was a supermodel. Their mom married a very successful man.
Right.
They are in a system that is at a different level. You cannot compare yourself to that, and nor should you feel like you have to. Kim Kardashian, if there's one thing you can learn about Kim Kardashian, and you want to know where I got aesthetic labor from? Kim Kardashian. Let me tell you why. She has really broken down what it takes to create conventional beauty, right? She has broken down step by step aesthetic labor. What is involved? How many steps are involved in creating flawless skin? How many steps it takes to look great on the red carpet in a very subtle way that doesn't make you feel like you're learning a lesson.
Right.
So I think that she's done a lot without actually raising her hand and saying, I'm doing a lot. She's done a lot for the beauty industry.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, I feel like we could really go off and just have like a really interesting back and forth about Kim. You know, I don't condemn the Jenners or the Kardashians for doing what they do. It's just my concern is that just kind of like the overarching vapidity around it and just kind of like how it's in some ways blanketing our culture and, you know, some negative, very vacuous ways. But again, like you said, structures, and there's culture, different contexts, there's like a place for all of it, you know?
And then like media companies, the larger media companies, they need clickbait, right? They need something for you to click. And so it's not just like the Kardashians
giving
sensationalizing
clickbait companies business.
Yeah, it's not only them sensationalizing themselves, it's actually the larger media companies and doing the work for them. They just have to be them.
Totally.
And it's, you know, the outer layers doing all the work. I mean, it's the same way we look at Trump. I mean, he's just being himself. And it's the, you know, New York Times subscription has gone up like 60% just because he's just being his self. You know,
that's a whole nother mess.
That's a whole nother mess, but very similar, more similar than different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Daisy, I thank you so much for touching on all of these issues. We covered a lot in such a short period of time. When we come right back, we're going to be speaking with Mira, another beauty influencer and entrepreneur extraordinaire in her own right, and then we're going to have a brief roundtable conversation at the end. Stay tuned.